Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Southeast Speed Shop. Give you guys a little bit of update on the 3rd gen Camaro. All right, this is kind of the overall appearance of the car, right? We want something subtle, but makes a statement. So we're going to put the 9192 Z28 hood blisters on the car to kind of beef up the front end a little bit, make it look a little bit more aggressive. It's going to have the Z28 front insert, grill insert. And then we're going to do a Wicker build spoiler, and I think I alluded to this in a previous video, that we're going to build that from scratch. So please forgive the tape job on our pattern back here, but this is the kind of overall look that we're going to go for. Yeah, I just had to put a bunch of tape on here just to hold it in the right position and angle so I could kind of see what it's really going to look like. But basically, this is what we're going for. We're going to have a pretty aggressive rear spoiler on here. I might take this down a little bit. It may be a little bit too tall for me because I do want it to be subtle, but I do want it to be effective. It has a job. It creates downforce in an autocross setting, track setting. That's going to have a lot of performance increasing ability for the car. So it's functional. As well as these hood blisters. I don't want to do anything to this car that doesn't have a function. Aesthetics are great. I love aesthetics. We're going to do some aesthetic things, but I like form and function. And these hood blisters from the factory don't do crap. They're just cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut out the insert area here, and we're going to ventilate the hood as well so we can actually extract some heat out of the hood of this car and make those functional units. So there's performance characteristic here as well. So we're going to do that. Not only are they going to look cool, going to look more aggressive in the car, they are going to function. And so anyway, this is kind of where we're at. The car is at a place where I am almost ready to start de-trimming and getting everything tore down to get ready for paint. But before I do that, I need to get the spoiler fitted. I need to cut the holes in the hood and get everything ready there, as well as I need to take the ground effects off, clean everything up, sand the whole paint regime, which is fairly intense. I enjoy that stuff, but it takes a long time. We're going to do it. And then once the car is painted, then we got to do an LS swap. And then we got to get ready for Power Tour. And then we got to get ready for LS Fest. And then we got to turbocharge. There's a lot of things that we want to do. So we got to get on it. So tonight, I'm going to start this project right here. We're going to take this pattern. We're going to see what kind of trimming we need to do. We're going to see what kind of things that we need to fix here. Get our pattern locked in. And then we'll start transferring that over to some aluminum and getting ready to cut that out. So let's get that started. And yeah, get a little bit of progress on our 3rd gen build. All right, so we've got our pattern here, and I got to make some tweaks to it. What I basically did is I took ram board, which you can get at Home Depot. I learned about this from Cal Vaz off the Fab Forums. If you haven't seen his channel, check it out. But he uses this a lot to do his metalwork, and I have done that a lot. I use it a lot to make my patterns for the Falcon. And yes, so we created a pattern out of some ram board that we kind of like, right? And you saw that, it's got this kind of vent in it. Looks very similar to maybe a C7 Corvette style rear spoiler. And I think that matches up with the angularity of a 3rd gen Camaro. So I really like this design. I feel good about our height here. I think this is going to be just fine for, you know, what I'm going for. It's fairly aggressive. I need some height to get the downforce where I need it to be. Let's see how tall I am. The peak, the highest point of this is about 4.5 inches tall. So just so you guys can if you want to know exactly the dimensions, I'm 4.5 inches on the end. I am about 2.25, a little less than 2.25 in this middle area. Maybe 2 1/8 in the very center there, and then back to exactly 4.5 on the outside. So that's kind of the, I guess, the middle height before we go into our dip. There is 3.5. So I've got about a 1 inch differentiation between the height here and the height here. Reason for that is the curvature of the deck lid. So there is a curve in the deck lid, and I have to account for that a little bit. So the options for me were to create the curve that's in this deck lid, also in this top section, right? So maybe there's a dissenting curve here that keeps this width the same from here to here, right? So we have to take about an inch off here, here's a half. That would kind of create a curve across the back. I don't want that. I like how square it is in the back. I kind of like that it's beefed up in these corners. It kind of gives it like a wide body kit does on the back of a car, gives it some hips. This kind of creates a little bit of muscularity in the top, and I like that. So we're gonna keep that design. And then what I do need to do is trim off down here a little bit to make sure that we're flush with the bottom of the current spoiler. So our current spoiler is gonna sit, if this was it, down here, and we're gonna attach to it. But I don't want a lot of hang off down here. So I've gotta trim some of that off. And then we're gonna go test fit it a couple times and make sure that we're really good there. Then our pattern's really good, our dimensions look nice, and everything fits, it closes like it's supposed to. I feel good about that. We'll come back, we'll transfer it over to some aluminum. This is a straight edge, just for me to help draw out some things. So that's the next thing. Well, I thought I'd put it on time lapse so you can see what I did, but I don't know if I did or not. But what I did is I took the spoiler off the back of the car. I just held on by 10mm nuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10mm nuts. So I pulled that off the car. I brought it over to my pattern so I could trim this bottom section flush with the bottom section of the spoiler. And I wanted to keep that arch, that natural arch of this thing consistent. So there's not going to be any extra material down below where the spoiler ends. So this keeps, like I said, keeps my height consistent. It keeps the curvature here consistent. And I think we're ready to take this pattern and transfer it over to our final material. So we're in good shape there. All right, what I have here is some material. I got some, this is right at 1/4 inch aluminum. And I can't tell you if it's 6061. I can't tell you the type of aluminum. I didn't ask, but I got it from Metal Supermarkets out of their scrap bin. So this is scrap aluminum plating, but it's perfect for what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna transfer our pattern over to this aluminum, draw it out, and we will make our cuts. It's pretty much that simple to get your pattern done. You just want to really make sure you take your time to get very precise measurements from your car. And one thing that I did so that you get the exact same side-to-side pattern is, once you have your pattern somewhat close to what you like, these cutouts right here for the where the deck lid actually raises, and there's that extra side piece of the spoiler that's attached to the rear quarter panel, and you have to have this cut out to clear that. Maybe you don't have to, but it looks better this way, and you're gonna find that most of these 3rd gen Wicker builds have this little cutout. So the problem with this is you can get this really nice angle here, and you can get that cut really nice, but it's really hard to duplicate just freehand drawing and that sort of thing. So what I do is, once I get one side really close to the way I like it, pretty easy, take your pattern, fold it in half, and then match it 100% the same on each side, so you got the same exact angle of cut, same exact roundness of your tip here, the contour on this, and everything else. So that's the trick there. Not anything super fancy, just fold it in half, duplicate. That should take care of any similarity, or not symmetry between your two sides. That's pretty much it. I'm going to draw this out, and I'll come back in a minute, show you how we're going to cut it out, or how I'm going to attempt to cut it out. And then once we have it cut out, we'll do a quick little fit up on it and start figuring out where we're going to drill our holes for mounting onto this old spoiler. Okay, my camera died somewhere along the lines of that time lapse, but hopefully you kind of saw what was going on. Basically, I cut out the shape on the aluminum, and it worked out really well. You can see it is very close. I put my pattern back on here to see how close we are, and we are almost dead money. So the shape looks good, my pattern looks good. I left a little bit of extra, I mean just 1/8 of an inch maybe, when I cut it out. If you take your time using a jigsaw, you can get pretty straight lines. They're not perfect, especially on this bottom section down here. You get a little bit of, waviness to it. What I did is take and I believe this is a wood, or maybe it's called an aluminum file. It definitely works with aluminum. I think it's more of a wood file. But and I'm taking this and I'm just kind of working this edge as flat as I can with it, but there is some curvature to it. But that helps me smooth out some of those big waves in there. So I'll finesse that a little bit, but this is really close. So we can go back here. So it is very, very close to being perfect. Now, of course, in a perfect world, you'd cut this out on a water jet or plasma cut, plasma cutter, and have an absolutely perfect piece. And we're gonna have about 99% of that. I'm also going to go back and maybe even put it on my router and bevel these edges. I'm not sure yet. Maybe I do that, maybe I don't. Maybe I just spend some time sanding these edges around. But regardless, we are super close. The next thing that we have to do is we have to put our mounting holes in the aluminum piece. So what I've done is I've taken the original spoiler, I've kind of set it up here to see where it's going to go through this. And this is about 2.5 inches thick, 2 3/4 in some areas, because it does get thicker in the middle. But I want to put the holes in between these ribs, support ribs, right? So I don't want to mess up and actually try to, drill through this and put a bolt. Doesn't make sense. So what I'm looking for is a way to evenly space multiple locations for my mounting hardware. And what I'm using for mounting hardware is this countersunk bolt kit. It's black. It's got a tapered style washer on it to help with support, made by All Star Performance. You can get these at Summit Racing. There's the part number for it. 1/4 inch shank. They've got a lock nut on the back, so nice piece. I am going to put a washer on the back side too, on the back here to support. But these are really nice. They've got that chamfered edge. They flush mount, super nice. So we're going to use this for our mounting hardware. So we're gonna have to drill 1/4 inch holes into our spoiler. And what I've done is I've just kind of mounted up my pattern, and I've marked my locations where the bolts are gonna go, and I've evenly spaced them from the edge, or the thickness of the spoiler, the original spoiler, and evenly spaced them in between that, so they should be evenly placed here. And long story short, and I'll jump to the end so you don't have to watch me do this, but I'm going to drill a couple holes here. I think I'm going to, just for mounting purposes and trial and error, I'm going to go ahead and do the middle and the 2 ends to try it out before I drill the rest of the holes and mount up and see what it looks like. But eventually I will put 2 more on each side. I'll have 7 bolts to hold on this spoiler. I want to say one thing. If you guys are going to do this, on this original spoiler, you have these studs that are screwed into the fiberglass. Let me show that. So these things are they're just screwed in. They're studs that go into the fiberglass, and that's your whole mounting support there. It's not a lot to it. You can see that one's even started to come loose a little bit. And this one down here, I think one of them I actually unscrewed earlier and had to put it back in, this one. So there's not a lot of meat on that bone, right, to go in there and hold. So what I'm going to do before I permanently mount this is I'm going to go back and I'm going to reinforce some fiberglass on these bolts a little bit. I'm going to try to take them out and then put some fiberglass resin and screw them back in, just to get a little bit more security on those guys because really this whole spoiler here is only as good as the mounting, is only as secure as the mounting for the original spoiler. So extra downforce and pressure on these bolts from this spoiler is going to put a little bit more force on these bolts, and you really just want to, you know, give it the best chance you got of it living and not pulling it off or stripping these out of that fiberglass. So I'm going to do a little reinforcement on that as well, just to be safe in the future. I'm not going to do that tonight, but just want to mention that in this video if you guys are going to do this yourself. So I'm going to drill these holes. I'm going to try our mounting hardware out a little bit. There is a natural bend or bow to this thing too. So this thing's going to flex a little bit as we mount it to this. So it's going to have a little tension laterally on it to make that bow, which I kind of like. It's going to put a little bit more dimension and curvature to the back of the spoiler, which is kind of cool. So I will do that quickly and we'll be back in a second. I'll try to put you back up here. I got a little bit more battery in my camera. Put it back on another time lapse, drill these out, we'll mount this up, and then we're going to put it on the car and see what it looks like. I mean, that's going to be the tell of the tale, right? No turning back at this point. We're going to drill holes and stuff. So I think it's going to look amazing. I'm already super confident about it. It's turning out fantastic, as I hoped. We'll see what it looks like in a minute. All right. Yeah, look at that. That looks fan-frickin-tastic. Like I said, I only put 3 in here just to do some test fitting, but there'll be 2 more, and I've already made the marks for the holes. And the reason I did it this way is I used my pattern to correctly place the holes onto our spoiler. The pattern, if you put it in the right place, to put it in the same place that you marked every time, your holes should line up, and they line up perfectly. So now I will go ahead and use my points of reference from the pattern here, and I'll drill through to put the rest of the holes in the right places and make sure everything lines up perfectly. But for now, we've got our holes marked, so we can drill those. I just want to take this over to the car and put it on and take a look. All right, guys. I have to say, I was a little worried. I was a little concerned how this would turn out. But after looking at this, oh man, check this thing out. Not the best lighting in here, but look, I think this thing looks incredible. Exactly what I wanted. It lines up with the lines of the car just perfectly. The bottom of the spoiler is right at the bottom of the factory spoiler, which looks nice. Our lines over here, I think it's really important to note that the shape of the car follows the shape of the Wicker bill here. And that was something when I was making my pattern, I spent a lot of time trying to get that curvature just right. This side as well. I mean, it should be the same, but that curvature to match the curvature of the car, so you're coming right up there, and it looks fantastic. So maybe this is a better angle to see it. But yeah, I'm loving it. I think it looks aggressive, it's cool. It's a little overstated right now because it's that aluminum color, but when it's blacked out, the car's black, man, what a cool contrast and a nice functional feature And man, that looks good. So, all right, guys. Hope you liked this video. Let me know what you think. What do you think about the spoiler? What do you think about the build of it? You like it? You don't like it? Let me hear your thoughts. I dig it. But, yeah, let me see what you think. Is it too tall? Is it too short? You let me know. Until next time, guys. See ya. Southeast Beach out.